Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Mark.
How you doing?
Couldn't be better, especially now.
What's that? Especially now. Hi, Brian.
It's playing.
Good.
We should check though, make sure that it's
Somebody
actually.
should log in.
I can jump on my phone.
So,
Is it actually?
So let me see this thing. Yeah, so.
so do you have to put your glasses on to read or?
Yes. No, well, they're just cheaters, I don't wear, and I mean, I supposed to get, I got glasses, bifocals, but I lost them about 5 minutes over there. Just get one of the cheaters.
I have to take my glasses off to read these.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
We'll just announce each
Put them
other
on
as
to
it
read
comes up.
that. You know, when you
And really,
get
the
your
only
eyes tested,
attachments
you know
are
that little fine line
the
down at the
monthly
bottom of
report
the
and
card?
then the bills.
I can read that.
You can?
Oh, yeah. But about 3.5 feet out, it just goes.
Yeah.
And then when I started putting down, I thought, well, maybe it's the only one going around here.
What's up? Do I know what it costs?
Is the
That's a good idea.
stuff here, that we have, is this all on TV over there?
Yeah.
I guess.
Why is that?
I don't know. That's a record, I guess. Allows the public to,
Open meeting laws, we have to have a broadcast.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you're saying I should be doing my best behavior all the time?
No,
No?
just mute your microphone if you're gonna
Okay.
say something you
yeah,
don't
when
want
does
picked up.
it, when does it actually go on? Are we on now?
We're on live now, right now.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, so everything, if your microphone is on, if the green light's on, everything you're talking about can be heard by the public.
If the light is on.
There you go.
Oh, no.
So, as long as you're sitting this close, I don't have to turn that off.
No, you're supposed to when the meeting's going on. That way they can't say we're conspiring in secrecy, you know, out of,
Well, I know there's some of the council meetings, they're just
uh-huh.
over the TV, it's like, seriously, don't lean forward.
And then there's the others that they're way back and you can't hear anything.
Thank you.
We done?
I was just texting you guys.
Where are you?
I had to wait and hold the door for me. I'd have been here like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I see that.
Kind of fun to get out of the hospital.
Took him that long to walk across the
He
street.
did. I had to grab his.
No. Brutal.
Hey, so Saber's there.
Nice. Hey, be quiet, Mayor. You're out of order.
He thinks he's the
Meeting
superintendent.
has to start again.
Around the show.
Yeah, I was back last week and I saw.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Any public input? Jim, you have anything?
Not that's gonna pertain to it very worthwhile.
Okay. If it's not worthwhile.
Well, I'll find out how worthwhile it is when I listen.
Okay.
And I'll find out what you're full of.
All right, sounds good.
I got a couple things. I got one thing, you know, last 2 weeks we did league and probably, I've been here since 2008, it's probably the best at Greensboro since I've been here as far as it's
Outstanding.
smooth, they're not vibrating, the green speed is good and, you know, so it's really, Jason, it's what the members have been begging for 15 years, and I played Prairie Green Friday, and theirs were about identical. And even last week, there were fresh verticutting marks, and it still rolled smooth again. Oh yeah, sorry. And they were still really smooth. And better get credit out there, as things seen at home. But yeah, so like today is, because of the storm, there's a few leaves, but everything was mowed up good for a Monday. It's probably the course's toughest day because you're doing the work from the weekend, but the greens have been phenomenal. So.
The course is phenomenal.
It is, and we,
Before you golf it is, after you golf, not quite as well.
Well, we could take one of the trees out as far as I'm concerned.
I had a couple of things. That was one of them, is the greens and the course is just outstanding. The other thing is I wanted to publicly acknowledge you and your staff for the Memorial Weekend effort. I know what the cemetery looked like before the storm, because I was out there visiting relatives, and it was phenomenal, and that storm came through, and you guys, that was a tremendous job to get that ready. Obviously, it's the biggest weekend out there for the cemetery throughout the year, and to be able to pull that off, and then the golf course on top of that was, so that's an attaboy to him, to you, from us.
Right back at it.
Outstanding.
Even the council and the mayor got compliments on it from people in town, so.
And we've played some other courses, and their greens are, and I've had that conversation with you, are horrible at best. And to be able to come back here, and like today, that they putted really nice. Really nice. I think the holes were about that big.
So I take it you won?
I didn't want to say it in public, but anyway.
Who lost?
I was only playing with one other guy, and I didn't want to mention it on
He's
air.
looking at you.
But, yeah. Delete. No, but seriously, it's phenomenal. And it just goes to show you what having somebody on staff with the knowledge to be able to save that, because I think we were close to having greens like some of these other small courses, as dry as it was in April, with the heat and the lack of moisture and lack of irrigation. Just having that knowledge and the ability to do that just really saved the course for the season. So, great job.
Well, thank you, and from my staff, thank you also.
Okay, any delegations? Any other public input? Any delegations? Okay, approval of minutes from the last board meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Joe and Mark, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Financial reports. We're just going to take your word for this since we can't see it. Just
Yep.
in a nutshell, we don't need, because we all have access to it.
Yep.
So
Yep. In general, cemetery's up about $2,000 from last year. As current expenses were up a little bit, but some of that is things that I purchased ahead of time than I would in a normal year because of costs going up. So, so you take those couple of things out of there and it would be fairly in line. As far as the bills for the cemetery, nothing out of line there again. I bought $3,000 worth of chemicals for herbicide and stuff that I probably would have held off on a little bit, but wanted to get them here, fertilizer and whatnot. So, yeah, that's nutshell for the cemetery, nothing too earth-shattering. probably the main things on the cemetery revenue. Burials are way down. Saturday funerals are way down, but lot sales are way up. So, so if burials and stuff were in line with normal, we'd be even better off. So, but that's a good thing. So, for the golf course, we're actually within about, and all this was by the end of May. So, by the end of May, we were within 12,000 of last year, revenue-wise. And I went back, remember that last year was a buffer year, so if you go back to previous years than that, we're well ahead of the 3-4 years before that. So, totally satisfied with that. Driving range has been just used a lot, and
Probably 10 more range pass holders from single range pass holders and stuff. And we went up $20 in that category, but range, there's somebody out there almost constantly.
Did you find range balls? Is everybody?
I found some Wilson, and I might be purchasing them. I just got to figure out if I have got the fundage to do a big enough purchase of them. And they'd actually be brand new ones. I've been talking to Eric about it, so I might pull the trigger on that here yet. But I have to spend about $4,000 to get a decent price on them. So. But there again, on the expenses, I'm up from last year, 16,000. Irrigation computer, which is, that wasn't even in the budget last year, so that's about $13,000 more that we've spent above and beyond. Spent $14,000, we're $5,000 last year in chemicals, so there are some things that we're actually down in from last year, so it kind of balances out. So nothing too concerning, I don't think. I mean, fuel's up a little bit, but as far as the expenses, repair on the payloader, repairs on the pump house, nothing too earth-shattering there.
Well, to be within 12,000 of where we were last year right now is pretty good considering how we started the season.
Yeah, it's,
And May wasn't the greatest, I mean, it was good weather, but there's still some days we missed out on
yeah.
revenue, we missed out on play just because of the weather wouldn't cooperate. Today, obviously, 100 degrees, but being only that far behind is not bad considering last year was by far the best year, and this year hadn't started out the greatest.
Mm.
I mean, it shows more people come out to play too when the course is in,
Yeah.
I want to say, pretty much mint condition, so
And when
it shows.
we get to Eric's report, you'll see the rounds per year, or up to date and everything, so.
If it keeps going the way it is, I mean, regular weekdays sometimes are busier than weekend days, which weekends are still busy, but we don't have weekdays where we have almost 200 golfers. Previous years, this year we're already getting up there to 192 golfers on, say, even just a Tuesday or a Wednesday or something. That was in May when we'd have one bad day, we've had 5 golfers. The next day it'd go from 0 miles an hour to 110 miles an hour because we'd have 192 golfers out there. So it's good to see. I mean, that brings more play, more revenue in when we have those nice days and the busy play.
Do these rounds you're talking about, does that include the tournaments?
That includes all, say we had the Mitchell Christian fundraiser, John Paul II fundraiser, the chamber, all those rounds, or all those, like say there's 80 golfers in the Mitchell Christian, those go towards all the rounds played too. Yeah, that's not just daily, it's not just daily play, it includes league play, Tuesday night league, Wednesday league day for ladies, all the tournaments and stuff, so it includes includes all those rounds. There might be a few here and there that I either miss or my staff might not get in there or something that I have to backtrack to look to see, but it's pretty accurate for the most part.
So I guess that's, I mean, without digging in, if you guys don't have it, if you ever want to see it, or if you don't want to jump online, I'll have this at my office, so.
All right, motion to approve financial reports.
So moved.
Second.
Brian and Tom, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Superintendent's report.
For the cemetery, obviously we got ready for Memorial Day and then had the storm, so we ended up losing about 6 trees. We'll have to cut down about another 4 yet, just because of the damage that they sustained. Saw the storm coming, so I had my crew on standby, and they showed up in droves. I had some volunteers that hopped in and helped, that were helping set up for the servicemen's memorial ceremony. So thank you to them. I don't even know who they all were, so. But it's kind of devastating making that turn into the cemetery at about 5:45 on Memorial Day, so that was, knocked over 8 monuments. Schaefer Memorial has offered to help us reset a few of them that are too big for us to handle. Servicemen Cemetery Shelter is getting near completion. They have to put the gravel down and some soffit and some other things, detail work. But it's looking, I don't know if you've been by, but it's looking good. Obviously, that's not our project, but.
It's a nice addition.
Yep. My payloader hose, I blew out a payloader hose, and that was one of the main ones, so got that back, and then I went to start it, and the starter went out in it, so so we were down a little while for that. Running good now. The street shop found a couple grounded wires that hopefully fixes some of the previous problems that we were having. Digital Cemetery, I've been in contact with District 3 a couple times. They didn't really give me any timeline, but they've kind of asked a few more details, so that's moving forward. The Exchange Club contacted us about the Children's Memorial, where that block is that we redid this last year. The shrubs that are in there are supposed to be in kind of a heart shape. Well, we've lost a couple of them through the years and stuff, and they were wondering about either replanting some of them or possibly doing a picket fence. So I've gotten a quote on that, and we're going to look into possibly doing that. And they would put in towards it or donate towards it. So, been working on the expansion plans for the cemetery. Just been, with all the lots we've been selling, it's just been the couple open lots that we have just been filling up more and more. So, so we'll be looking at that also. Community gardens actually have 6 spots left, so if anyone is interested in a garden spot, they're $35 for a 10 by 20 spot. We supply the water with hoses and everything, and there's periodic spots throughout the garden, so you don't have to carry a hose too far to get to it. We did have to do a couple repairs to the fence around the garden after the storm. A couple branches fell on it. And then we retilled the unsold spots this last week. So if somebody comes to rent them, it's freshly tilled. Obviously it got wet over the last couple days, but they're looking pretty good. For the golf course, obviously the storm cleanup, actually didn't even really start for the most part on the storm cleanup on the golf course until Tuesday after Memorial Day. We lost 7 trees on the golf course side. There again, we'll have to take down probably another 3 because of damage they sustained. Waterfall pump is in and working, but there's a problem with the control system. Fertilized tees and fairways this last week. I've already cut greens twice now. Got the new 50 horsepower pump or motor for the pump that the other one burned up, so that is working. Mr. Thurman had stopped by and helped me with some electrical issues out in the field. After the storm, I think we got a lightning strike and knocked out a couple surge protectors essentially. So thank you to him. Been in contact with Yamaha. There's been a few issues with the new carts, so they're gonna hopefully take care of all that.
Is that the throttle issues?
Throttle issues, yep,
Okay.
yep, yep.
Pretty quick, the clutch or the brake sticks.
Yep. And then the
Stickers.
number stickers are already peeling about
Really?
a couple days after we got them.
fast.
Yeah.
That's probably right.
So,
Actually, it's the wind damage.
so, but anyways, he was pretty receptive to all that, so. The ponds are all almost full except for number 1. Kind of held off on them. I talked to some of you about this, but kind of held off on it till we got our pumps figured out and I wasn't burning up something that I didn't need to. So I'm assuming you've gotten a few comments about that, but we'll be doing grub control here in the next couple weeks. I will be losing one seasonal this week. He got a full-time job, so we'll miss him. We'll be hopefully making time to start on some leveling of some tee boxes, and we'll go into that a little later. I may have to start closing off parts of the driving range tee box just because it's getting so much use, and might have to just block off part of it and let it heal for a while. And so it might mean people are going to have to walk further down, but it might be a necessary evil. But in the same sense as they starts healing in, I'll be trying to boost it a little bit with a little extra fertilizer and whatnot, so give it a little extra care. So I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of business as usual. And, does anybody have any questions?
Jason,
Yeah.
with regard to that, the waterfall,
Mm-hmm.
is there something that is, I mean, it seems like every year there's something wrong with that pump. I mean, is it just not meant to do what it's doing?
Usually it's, sometimes it's a control, sometimes it's, if the water level's not high enough, it'll start cavitating. So then I turn it off until I get the water level, or it's also, there's enough moss and algae in there. If it clogs the screen, it will start cavitating because it's not letting enough water into the wet well. I guess I don't know what you're talking about specifically, but
Well,
that's just a few of the things that have happened. But like the issue I'm having right now, I can turn it on, but it will not turn off unless if I turn the breaker off. So it's in the controls. I gotta get them in to look at it. So.
The only reason I bring it up is, it's probably one of the most beautiful things
Mhm.
on our course.
Yep.
Literally.
Yep.
And since it was put in,
Mm-hmm.
I swear at least once a year or every other year, it's done. And it was like, you know, if that only happened once or twice in a 10-year period, that's one thing. But this is, you know.
So to go back the last 2 springs, I was not able to, we have to physically pull the pump all the way out and for the winter, and I have to do that with my payloader. Well, both the last 2 springs, my payloader has been broke down. So that wasn't a pump issue, that was a other machine issue, so.
Pump's cheaper than the payloader.
No, it just seems, you know.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, and it's usually not physically the pump. It's more of a control issue or a cavitation issue because of the water level or it not able to get water. The wet well is only about maybe 2 foot in diameter, and if it's not getting enough feed into it, I don't know how big the pipe coming over to the wet well is, and if it's not able to sustain itself because of all the water we're pumping out of there, and it drops the level in the wet well, then it could burn up the pump. So there has been a few times where I turn it off because of that, or if it's going to be a 100-degree day and there's not going to be golfers out there, I may turn it off also. So. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Clubhouse report.
Rounds played. I'll just go over them. Last May, we had 3,322 rounds. This May, we're only down about 500 rounds. We had 3,288. So not bad considering the month of May. Rounds will keep going on the upward swing here into June. Membership numbers were down a little bit from last year. Membership numbers are still coming in. I still have to get hold of Chris Cranny at the rec and just confirm with her the number of city fund pass holders. So I got all those membership numbers in here. So those currently are not all in these figures with 489 total members compared to 598 last year. We do have 29 new members, so it's always good to see the new members. Like Jason said, it's just kind of business as usual. Today started the kids camp. We have 30 kids in the older age group and 52 in the younger kids. So it's good to see that that number of young kids. It's also, I got about 20 people or 20 college kids and high school kids helping me out to get them where they need to go and try to teach them something of golf while you can in those hours. But I mean, if anybody who's out there saw all the kids, I mean, it's good to see, but it's a lot of kids around. We have that going on tomorrow as well, and then next Monday and Tuesday, and then the following Monday and Tuesday in June. So when parents stick around, they hang out, watch their kids during kids camp and stuff, and all my staff and all the high school girls golf team, boys golf team, coaches and stuff, I mean, they're great to basically donate some of their time. Some of them don't work for me, they just donate their time and come over and help, so I'm glad for them that they can help at all the stations we have. But kids seem to enjoy it, parents compliment it, so it's a good thing, good problem to have with that many kids out for junior golf. Revenue report, we kind of went over. I can hit on some of them. Most of the high school tournaments we had, most of those bills are all paid. Some of them came at the first part of June, so some of those are in that tournament sponsor line. But all those high school tournaments we had paid for. Green fees, cart fees, they're a little bit down. That just came with the weather we had. Range balls, and we're almost even or up on the regular range. Or no, up on the range membership, down a little bit on range balls. That'll continually go up. Membership fees, I mean, they are what they are with the numbers that we have. Hopefully more, I mean, throughout the year, city fund passes come in, so those could go up a little bit. We still are taking memberships into June as well. But every day, there's an event or something coming up to plan for, so there's always something to do and to play, daily operations. That's kind of all I have for May coming up here tournament-wise. We have a few smaller business outings that are just tea times, and then we have Veterans Fundraiser on Sunday. That's always a good tournament for the veterans, all the local area veteran groups. We just have the Lakeview four-person at the end of June 26th. So, and then it'll be July already. Summer goes by very quick.
Feels like July today.
Hopefully the summer, with the storms we've already had and stuff, won't need those. That is all I have. Questions, comments,
Is
concerns?
the veterans a tea time one, or is that a shot?
That's a 12 p.m. shotgun, playing foursomes on Sunday.
Good work. Okay, discussion on 2022 project progress.
Really, there hasn't been a whole lot done except for the trees. I do have a load of sand, and I was hoping to get started that first week of, but then the storm and everything. So the plan is for existing tee boxes to try to start leveling with just top dressing. The ones we can do without stripping sod. And just taking each tee box on a case-by-case basis. So some of them are crowned, some of them are just have some dips and stuff. So we're hoping to start knocking off some of them. The forward tees, I'm hoping to start them in October after our tournaments. They would probably, if I have an opportunity to do one here in June yet, I may, but more than likely I'll hold off until October for those. Keep them, those areas not all tore up, and hopefully probably end up resodding them at that point, though, instead of seeding them, so that'd be about the only difference. So.
Did he pick a exact location out for the forward tees, or just a distance?
So on the plan, he kind of generally located them, and I had flags out at one time. I don't know if the blue marks are still there, but I had gone and I had shot that same distance within 5 yards, one way or the other, and put a flag for Jeff, I know, has played, Brian has played it, Tom has, I'm assuming Mark and Joe have. But just to give people a feel for it, and for the most part, I think the response was pretty good about it. I had actually asked Norby about that, and he said, no, I don't know if I'd do that because it might give people the wrong idea. And it's like, no, I think it's a good idea. So we did it anyways.
Because like 18, he had planned on moving the cart path to the other side, correct? Wasn't that in on the project? To take it away from the water? Or was
I
that
don't
just
think so on
discussion?
18.
I don't recall that.
You don't?
That was actually eliminating part of the cart path and going without. And that's okay in some situations, but we do have some drainage issues. So if cart path's going to get eliminated, some drainage issues need to get addressed first. So, and I addressed that to him, and 18 would be one of those, 16 would be one, 15, 14. Some of them he had totally rerouting, but that one was actually, he had somewhat eliminating. He had it for the first part of the hole from the tee box up to about 100 yards out from the tee box, and then re-picking it up about 100 yards out from the green.
And like 13, but yeah.
Yeah. So, one other possibility for this year's projects, if there's money for it in October, or possibly even before, is the new TV box set up on 15. We could go into that and start building those because they would be out of play essentially. That is a possibility also. So,
Jason, do you have to cut any trees for that?
yes. Yeah, we'll have to cut back into those. The back tee would be approximately pretty close to where my current furthest west pile for the cemetery is. So, but yeah, we would have to, conservatively, probably there's going to be 30 trees that need to be cut down because they're pretty thick.
Too big to move, though.
Yeah, for the most part. If one's movable, certainly I'll move them. But if they're that big that you're either you need to get a really big tree spade or your survival chances really go down. So,
Jason, on the tee boxes,
mm-hmm.
is that your project or is that part of the, I mean, fill me on how this project goes for tee boxes and are we contracting anything out?
So for this initial part, just because we would have a hard time bringing a contractor in for the amount of money we had.
Okay.
And then another part of that is we had to spend a pretty good chunk of that to fix our pumps. So we started with 96,000. Well, I had about an extra 25,000 that we had to take out of the project money to help pay for my pump repairs.
See, and to me, it's just a problem.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is that we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and the project that or at least it seems goofy to me. It seems like if we got a project, let's get the money in my mind and contract it out if we can. But now all of a sudden the pump's bad, so now we get, so I don't know if the council, everybody's aware of all this stuff that goes on, but it just seems kind of,
well,
I don't know why, it just seems like we're spinning our wheels and we're not getting anywhere.
Yep.
And it shouldn't be that because the pump goes out,
Yep.
that we gotta sacrifice some of the other stuff
Yep.
that we're trying to do.
Well, and we could have gone to council and asked for it, but it would have still come out of our cash. So, for the expediency of getting those pumps put in and fixed, I went over it and to get the answer right away so we could get the process started, we just said, all right, we'll take it out of here so that we can now.
And I agree with that
Yeah,
completely. I mean,
yeah.
you can't wait for them, you gotta,
Yeah.
we gotta get the greens going, we gotta do
Yep.
that. But now at that point, when does when does the city start stepping up for this?
Well, if, it depends on how our year goes. If we have a really good year, then it's probably coming out of the golf course funds.
Okay.
But if the golf course only meets their revenue, then that's when the city will kick in after that.
Okay,
Since we're an enterprise fund,
right.
right or wrong, I mean, it depends on how you look at it.
Well, we can still get contingency funds
Yeah.
later on. And that's, I agree with you 100%. I don't like doing it that way, but at the end, and my philosophy has always been, just like what you said, the money's allocated for a project. If that money needs to be used for something else, we can cover our operational costs and stuff. These are, in my opinion, a capital improvement, and if we can afford it, fine. But if we can't, and it takes away from a project that we're trying to do, then we need to go back to council
Right.
for a contingency to make up that difference.
Okay.
Because at this point, because especially moving into the next phases, if we start spending that money down on things that it wasn't intended for, then what are we doing?
Right, right.
And
Like we're doing tee boxes that maybe Jason, I mean, it just seems like, to me, we should, if we've got that money, we should be trying to get those people contracted to maybe come in and do them. And maybe I don't understand all of it, but it just seems like, no disrespect to you, Jason,
Yep.
but we're just kind of spinning our wheels, kind of, all of a sudden now Jason wants to do a few tee boxes. And I'm almost thinking it'd be nice just to get a plan where we contract somebody and they come in and they do it. Is that wrong? I mean, are we?
Well, in reality, if we would have had a contractor in this summer to do this, we planned ahead far enough that we got somebody lined up, they aren't going to work for less money than what they're contracted for.
Right.
So we were going to have to pay them regardless if the pumps went down or not.
Right.
So I don't see any difference here, other than we had the cash to float it to get it done.
I just talked with Jason about this today, and what Mark is saying is, would be my choice to do is to hire someone to come in, get the figure, and do all the tee boxes. People that do it for a living, so we don't suffer on our other, because if you're building tee boxes, there's other stuff not getting done. And to build, we have a lot of unleveled tee boxes, and you go to a new course, there's not unleveled tee boxes. Hire people that are going to build tee boxes would be my choice. Can we get it in the budget? Well, then we might have to find more money, but I think we should have somebody come in and build them all, would be my choice, and do it professionally. Somebody that does it for a living. I mean, it's like Jeff being a mechanic or taking it someplace to overhaul an engine. Yeah, you can get it done, but, that's probably a bad choice. Maybe Jeff's a good mechanic.
Really?
I think it'd just be so much better for the course. I haven't seen with the money, what did we start with, 100, what did they budget, 146 did we get from them?
That would only be if you,
With the tree?
no, it was like 109, I believe.
Okay.
Do we have anybody local that does that kind of work?
Marty Johnson from Sioux City is probably the closest
Yeah.
that I know of.
I mean, ultimately, guys, what you gotta consider here is we would have to put that out to bid.
25,000, is that correct?
I don't know what
Or is it
in
50?
South Dakota. We were 175
Yeah.
in Minnesota, but I'm not sure what it is here.
But for 25,000, I don't think you can get them to pull their equipment up here.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, even if we did it, if we did the project, I mean, ultimately, that's gonna be a 2 or 3 month project in and of itself, just to bid it and to approve it.
And
By the time they can get, and.
the reason we weren't going to tear it up also, because we have the state high school in the first weekend in October, remember this year? He was going to try to wait to do it afterwards, so the course looks, and that's whatever, the first Monday, Tuesday in October. But
I don't know that a contractor's going to fit in that window for you, but if staff can make that happen yet this year, if they can, then it's a vote on saving some dollars. If they can't, they have to reevaluate going forward.
sometimes saving dollars is not always the best choice. I'm not saying this isn't. I don't know.
Well, and the tee boxes we were looking at doing in-house were those forward tees where they're only going to be 8 inches up. And so if we do any, it'd be those.
Ones that already exist?
No,
Oh.
no. I'm talking about
The new
the
forward ones.
the new forward tees. So they'd be the red tees. So,
More similar to the red and gold on number 6,
they would be,
except not that high.
they would not be that high. They would be a little bit bigger, and they would,
Is that something he recommended, not to go as high?
yeah. Especially for a forward tee, because it's kind of, as you go from back tee, you want a little higher, and a little lower, and it's not something that has to be done, but For a tee like that where you're not going to get as much play on. And maybe we'll be surprised, maybe we'll get a lot of play on it, but,
I think almost, once you get it up there, I bet 85% of the ladies will play it.
yeah.
I just think, the only ones that won't are competitive players.
Yeah. But that would, I guess that was the intent. And that might vary because it all depends on, well, is it on a fairly flat area to begin with, or are you dealing with something like this where you might only be 8 inches here, but you might be 1.5 feet here, so it all depends.
Jason, do you feel confident in doing those forward tee boxes, that you could get them level and built the way they should be?
Yeah, yeah. It's just, like Dan said, I mean, it's, to bring somebody in to do it would probably be the ideal thing, but with only 60,000, 70,000 to work with, to nail down a contractor to come in to do that on the time frame we were talking about. So I guess if it gets to the point where we decide we don't want to do that and we push that part of the project into the next phase and kind of just lump it in, we can do that. But yeah, as far as what the end product will be, if I do it, it'll be done right.
Is there any chance that, for example, if you need specific equipment that the department does not necessarily have? that we can
Does the
go
city
to
have a
other
laser
departments?
leveler?
They do not. I actually looked into one this spring, and it was only 4 foot wide. I've been contemplating going back to that and I did talk to the mayor and Kevin about that earlier this year. Possibility of purchasing that piece, it would be about $11,000. The problem is most of my equipment is 5 foot wide, so your tire tracks will be outside of that. Since then, I've talked to Mr. Norby, and he didn't seem to think it was big of an issue as I did, but so that would be a possibility of something like that.
I just wondered whether there was other departments within the city that we could utilize help with.
Yeah. Possibly, but
Do the Parks Departments ever use laser levelers and everything? Anything? No?
Not to my knowledge.
'Cause when they do build ball fields, are they done they're all hired coming in from the outside and stuff, right?
I talked to Jeremy Nielsen about that, and he said he doesn't use one. I think he said he had one field one time done that way, but
I didn't think.
it's all a matter of your transmitter at that point. And the one I would be looking at would just be a single slope laser level, so it would just go on the one plane, whereas a ball field would be coned essentially, and then you need a specific transmitter for that. So.
Someone's going to think there's no audio.
Jeff, you awake?
Yep.
Okay.
So I guess that's where I'm at right now.
Maybe I just don't understand.
Hmm?
Could you just tell me what we have for dollars you have to spend? And are we in this phase, are we in phase one right now?
Yep.
We're phase one of Norby's plan.
Yep.
And how many dollars do we have to start with that?
If you take out the
Just ballpark.
about 96 we started with. If you take out the
And that's
pond.
phase one, so we had 96,000 to do phase one.
Yep.
Just really quickly, tell me what phase one was gonna be due.
Tree removal, which we did that,
Tree removal,
tree removal and bunkers, or, sorry, tee boxes, forward tee boxes, and whatever, kind of seeing how far we got with the money, and
okay.
then
So
figuring
you
out.
got 96,000 for that.
Mhm.
Tell me what phase two is. When is phase two thinking about coming in? Just, is it coming like in next year, 2020?
So, well, I was getting to that, but, so essentially, contractors are about a year out.
Okay,
So when you're able to say, pull the trigger, their work is about a year out. So if we wait till January 1, till we can do all this, more than likely, we won't be doing that project next year. We'll be more looking at 2024.
okay. So,
And I think
To
what
me-
you're asking, then where's the next step in getting money from the city? Or where
exactly
does
right, I'm
this-
trying to, you know, or.
Is it all
or the other side
contingent on
would
if
be
we
maybe
make
we should combine the money.
$100,000?
To me, if you're taking trees out and you kind of do, I mean, so you got $100,000 that would get sitting there in phase one. Maybe we should look at just combining it with phase two,
Mhm.
coming and doing it all one way and contract it out and do something. I mean, it just seems like we're really piecemealing things together right now, to me. I mean, it's just like maybe that's wrong, that I'm confused on it, but for some reason,
I guess the way it was kind of somewhat set up is, yes, kind of piecemealing this first phase and getting some things done, and then having the bigger ask for the second phase.
okay, so if we do the bigger ask, don't you think maybe we should just put the tee boxes in that bigger ask and do them all the right way?
We certainly can.
Because it seems like we're having a problem getting this thing, with all this stuff going tournaments,
Mhm.
when we're gonna actually get it
Yep.
done. And maybe somebody needs to draw it on a map for me so I
Yep.
understand, but
The only advantage, I'm torn on that. The advantage would be by doing it this fall, that's one less part of the course that's going to be tore up during
So,
that next
Jeff,
phase.
is that phase, so what you're saying, is that the tee boxes that
Yes.
he's
Yep.
gonna probably do then?
If we could get those done this fall, that's one less thing that we'd have to
Okay,
do as far as having equipment on the course during the next phase.
okay,
Me personally, I wouldn't be opposed to lumping it in, but the only advantage is we're going to be that much further ahead if Jason can do it in-house, because we're not going to be able to bid it out for this fall.
right,
But
okay.
my next question, which kind of ties into that, is, so we asked the council for our phase two funding this fall. We can't bid it out, from what I've been told, until after January 1st, because that's the budget cycle. So then you're
Even if
looking
it gets approved, legally, you can't bid it out to January 1 until they get the money, even though it's approved in budgets. Budgets used to be in June until COVID hit. Now, when's the deadline on budget?
We're in August.
Yeah. So it gets approved, they're all set to go. You still can't bid it out legally until January 1, right?
Same way with pickup trucks. I mean, if we try to bid one out in the spring or January, February, we'll get it the following year, just
Yeah.
because it's that far out on equipment.
It's just the way it is. The thing I don't like about taking out the trees, I really like our golf course, so we take out the trees to start it. Let's say the city don't give them money for phase two.
There were some trees that I did not take out that would be, most of the trees that we took out so far were dead, dying.
I understand.
Yeah, there were.
That's every year.
Yeah, so I mean, for the most part, we're just taking care of what's built up over a few years, so,
So the real question I have, and as long as you brought it up with the trees, when you have storms like this, does that come out of that budget then? Even it may not be a tree that was marked to be part of the project?
well, the money for taking down those trees was kind of a lump sum for that, Whereas when we do storm cleanup, that's all us.
I realize that.
Yeah.
He basically specifically marked trees.
Yeah.
I mean, specific trees.
Yep.
Now, if other trees go down, is that part of?
It all depends on how it all
I
lays
know,
out.
I mean,
It's,
So literally, we could be spending money now on the tree project that wasn't even supposed to be part of the project to begin with.
The tree work that's been done, it hasn't been with contracted dollars, it's been all staff work that's getting those trees removed.
Yeah, that's
cleaned up.
daily operation money basically coming out from wages getting paid out to staff and stuff.
And the checks and balances on that would be Jason's knowledge of the master plan, and if he codes it to the project or codes it to his regular operating budget would be up to you, I assume, right?
yep.
So, yeah. What I don't like is that money being taken out of there to fund other stuff. And I know you'll keep track of that, and at the end of the year, the way I look at it is if he can do it and do it up to what our expectations are of these forward tees and can get it done this fall, no matter what happens on our next ask for the big ask, we've got forward tees, so a good percentage of the players that play those would happen. So the worst case scenario is that we don't get any more funding from here on out, we've got a set of forward tees that the new golfers can utilize. And then we take on phase two.
And of those tees, Jeff, are those, is there 18 tees, or, I mean, how many, those forward tees?
So,
18 tees.
No, because
So-
like 8 wouldn't have a
Yep.
forward tee.
so the ones the holes that will be majorly impacted by some part of the new future construction,
Okay,
I wasn't going to do them because,
gotcha.
I mean, I think there is, if I remember right, 11 that I would be trying to do.
Okay,
That would the new construction in any of the phases wouldn't affect that tee box. So, should we just go into the
next year.
next year's?
For phase
So,
two.
Yeah,
I mean, because it all kind of
ties together.
ties together. So just a reminder on what the phase two is. It'd be abandoning hole 12, reconstruct hole number 11, construct a new par 3, 14th hole, and also the new tees for 15. So that's what would be included in on that.
What was that dollar amount again?
What's that?
What was that dollar amount?
494.
that's with the old dollars, right?
That's old dollars. I talked to Mr. Norby, and he figured probably 15% on top of that. So that would take it to 571. And that's, so,
Yeah, that's going to be real dollars from here on out. It's
yeah.
not gonna be a-
Yeah, I mean, I don't foresee it changing here anytime real soon.
And we need that money out of the city council, right?
That's not
Could
money.
be
That's,
requested.
yeah, the request will go in. I mean, that's not money that the golf course has in its cash. So it's money that it would have to come out of the general fund. There is no other way to do it. So there has been talk about maybe I don't remember if Jeff talked to me about this or somebody talked to me about doing a fundraiser tournament just for the projects. I mean, that's going to be kind of a drop in the bucket, but at least get some excitement going. And maybe if done right, you might be surprised on how much we can generate off that, so.
Well, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of questions about where we at, and so the interest is out there.
People think it's happening this year.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But a lot of this is, I mean, kind of like we talked, phase 1 is linked to phase 2, phase 2 is linked to phase 3. I mean, it's just kind of a continuous ball that if we're essentially planning for 2 years down the road. And
each phase can sit alone on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't get to the next one, each phase can sit the way the course is done. I mean, we don't have to, we'd like to get to the next one, but I don't think each phase has to get done for the golf course to be
But,
playable and
but the main thing on that is we just kind of need to, we can't always wait. I mean, it's got to, some of what we'll do during phase 2 is preparing for the next phase. So if we know that this is all we're getting, then we'll plan accordingly.
Plus, you might have contractors with overlap.
Yeah.
You know, so knowing that phase 2 is happening after let's say we get the money after January 1st of this next year, and they start looking at bidding this, knowing that there's another phase 3 coming up the following year, we might be able to tie up a contractor for 2 full seasons, and that may be attractive.
Yeah.
And Mr. Nerby's guess at what it costs might go up 20% like everything else has.
Yep. Well, like anything else, I mean, you throw a little more money at it and it gets done quicker and they put more people and more equipment and whatnot. Just for, I talked to Kevin a little bit about kind of a timeline to get everything back up and open by June 1st. Probably starting the project actually by July 1st and seeding August 15th, and that would June 1st opening. And that's all, I mean, that all depends on the spring. It might be earlier than that,
You're talking 23 and opening 24.
This would be, I mean, it could be 23, 24, it could be 24, 25, it all depends. But, so we'd start construction July 1. So I mean, that's another thing is what are we tying up and are we able to get around tournaments and everything? But that would be actually seeding in about a 6-week period, getting all the dirt work done, all the irrigation, all the drainage done, seeding it, sodding around where we can sod, and getting a good head start by August 15th, because the later you push that seeding date, the longer in the spring you're going to push your opening date. So,
And all those phase 2 projects would be on the back 9. So you'd have
Yep.
you'd have a full front 9
Yep.
to maintain.
Yep.
for-
Yep. And if there's a commitment, I know it's not ideal, but if you guys starts on, like, say we want to make a par 4 and a par 3 out of number 10, I could make one out in the fairway or out where we're going to expand the fairway for temporary, but if I start treating it right and put some bent grass in it and everything, we could have an extra green there for play for that period of time. So, but there needs to be somewhat of a commitment on that going forward. Well, if we can't bid this until January 1, we're probably talking about 2024. So we have all that time to get all this ready and try to make as little disruption as possible. Will it affect the layout of the golf course? Yes. Will it be an ideal situation? No. But if we want to end up here, we're going to have to go through a few growing pains. So. And there are a few other options. I mean, that's just something Kevin and I were talking about. There'd be a possibility on number 10. So, And the other thing to think about is there are 2 state tournaments that they want to have out at Lakeview in 24 and 25.
Yep. That is
So-
correct.
And remind me what those are.
24 is, one of them, 24, 25, one of them is the AA girls in the spring, and the other one would be the, I want to say B and A, B boys and girls. Sorry, I can't find the email right now, but.
Wild Oak won't be part of that, Eric?
What's that?
Wild Oak won't be part of the boy,
They would
boy.
be- Yeah, they'd
They'd
be,
have to be with B, because one goes each course.
state B boys golf would be, it'd be 2024 would be the boys and girls B golf. One would be at Wild Oak, one would be at Lakeview, so then the AA would be in 2025. And those are still out there proposed to us that we have to decide probably by the fall, by next spring, to sign the contracts if we want them here or not.
So there again, well, we'll have to make that decision. Do we play around that? Do we reject them or what? So,
Well, we'll know in
Soon as
August.
budget, yeah.
yep, August, September, well, we should have a pretty good idea. Doesn't get final until November, I believe.
November, December.
Yep. So. So.
Well, for what it's worth, my opinion would be, keep in mind, I would like to have a contractor do these forward tees if we could do it, but I don't see it being doable at this point. And I say give him a crack at it and do them this fall. I mean, that's just me talking. And then we'll be a lot smarter in August, September, October, whether we're gonna have
He
funding.
just the forward tees, he's not doing
Yeah.
anything with the other tees.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
So
the only possibility would be the new set of 15, but,
And leveling. the
Leveling the
existing.
existing.
well, yeah, the leveling of existing I'm planning on doing no matter what, what I can efficiently do. But when we get into those fall tee boxes, if something else is going to suffer, I'm not going to go there. So if my staff level drops to a certain point, or,
There's really only a month there, by the time you take the, whatever the high school's done, let's say that's the 8th, 9th of October, before frost.
yeah. Yeah. So, and it might be a situation where we get 3 done. Like I said, I'm not going to sacrifice everything, the rest of the golf course, just to get those done. If it can't get done, we won't. I'll try, but,
But even that, the construction of those are not going to impede the rest of the golf course.
no,
I
no.
mean, even if you have to do the rest of them the following year,
Yep,
it's not going to have an impact.
yep, yep. And that's the
Other than some
thing,
bare dirt or whatever.
yeah, yep. And I guess that's the thing about doing them is that it might look slightly off, but it's not going to interrupt play. So.
Any other questions about that? Or for now, anyway, we can bring it up again August is the formal proposal to the mayor and
Yes.
When do budget items have to be in
August,
for the spring or next year?
yeah. And I don't know how it works with contractors, if you can talk to some of them that this is coming up, maybe they can, I don't know.
Would they
Give you an
even
idea.
get it without knowing
No.
You can
The
get
project's
quotes,
gonna
but you
take
can't
place.
see.
Yeah, you can get quotes, but if the design isn't done, it's kind of hard for them to, because you're not talking about a pool, that it's X, Y, Z depth, and you're talking so many variables on elevations and materials and, yeah,
People
yeah.
can build.
So until they have concrete plans, they'd probably be not real likely to want to really stick their neck out on it. But
Okay, anything else?
Yes, I got one thing. I'm golfing with two guys today, and me and Eric played in league 2 weeks ago, as far as the brake sticking. So one stuck so bad, the engine probably goes 25% before it releases. When one guy's 73, his head went back and hit the pipe.
When I let go.
When Eric was there, I said, Eric, see how fast it goes before it releases. We had one that stuck really hard. I don't remember what number it was. But that shouldn't happen. I mean, they got to come out and adjust them, I think.
yeah, I've
But anyway, his head went back and hit, and he's doing this. I said, what happened? He's the one when he took off.
yeah, we can't have that.
There's about 7 or 8 carts we have
That or bad?
that we have written down that Jason has
Yep,
talked to Yamaha about, 4 of those ones.
yep.
Are you able to pull them out?
I'm sure you guys that rent carts came across them, haven't you? Yeah. Because when Eric just grabbed it, I said, why don't you drive? I want to see how these things ride. Man, they ride nice. Holy cow. That was the only negative I seen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can pull those.
It's got to be an adjustment, ain't it?
yep, yep. Yep, I talked to them 2 days ago or I talked to them on Friday and they haven't gotten back to me yet,
They
but,
will come out and,
But with it under warranty, we won't touch them yet.
yeah,
perfect.
yep.
Okay, our next meeting will be July 11th, and I will be gone.
Guess it's sit the head cheese's chair.
Jim, do you have something?
And a few thoughts, but
Because we're going to adjourn the meeting if you don't.
that's fine, you adjourn it, because I think I'm gonna reserve those thoughts until I have a little more research.
Sounds good, you're welcome anytime.
Sounds good to me, sir.
And with that, we're adjourned. I think you're 6.7 years old. I said, get that kid a basketball right now.
Yeah.
No, less than you can.
I'm sending him to the coach.
Hard time.
Vertical, his last name's Matt.
Say that.
Yeah.
One thing after another, and
Yeah.
it's just.
I saw